iconic slasher franchise Friday the 13th had never shied away from putting their main villain Jason Voorhees in different locations and creating a fresh take on him. Following this motto, in 1989, Friday the 13th Part 8 played with the idea of the slasher villain terrorizing Manhattan. Adapting from this particular setting in mind, writer Elliot Kalin and artist Andrea Muti reimagine a slasher killer much similar to Jason called Maniac Harry in modern-day New York, focusing on 2021's Maniac of New York comic series. Today we explore the lesser-known story of a killer, or rather a maniac, who could very well have been the successor to Jason. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The journey begins of Maniac Harry. The killer Maniac Harry's reign of terror started in the new year of 2016, when the killer with a white mask went on a rampage with his spiked machete, an image eerily similar to that of Jason Voorhees, as he went among a horde of partying New Yorkers and mercilessly killed a total of 97 people. The unknown killer was given the name of Harry the Maniac, and many news outlets even thought of his actions to be an act of terrorism, with Mayor DiManzio vowing to bring Maniac Harry to justice behind bars, or be killed completely. But despite the strong outrage against him, Maniac Harry remained uncaught for 4 years, with his presence becoming akin to that of an inevitable evil like a storm or hurricane that one needed to avoid to the best of their efforts instead of finishing it off for good. On April 3, 2020, Maniac Harry was still popular in the news for killing 4 female students from New York University 2 weeks earlier, but the news reporters remained focused more on the young women being out alone in the evening. On the same day, Detective Gina Green started off her first day as the new head of the Maniac Task Force that was responsible for catching Maniac Harry, but to her utmost surprise found herself to be the only member of the team alongside another detective, Zelda Pettibone. The duo soon met up at a bar to discuss possible plans to catch Maniac Harry, but found themselves to be at odds with each other. While Gina wanted to go to any length possible to end Maniac Harry's reign, Zelda, on the other hand, had accepted him as a force of the divine that was punishing the masses for their ignorance towards society's problems. Their conversation was cut short by a possible sighting of the maniac, but upon reaching the police department, they found it to be a false alarm, and Gina was shocked by the lack of seriousness of the other police personnel regarding it. Getting inside the office, Zelda revealed the area around 81st and Central Park West was always seemingly avoided by the maniac. Noticing the picture of an unknown teenage boy on the board, Zelda questioned Gina about it. He was revealed to be Gina's late boyfriend, Josh Rosenberg, who was one of the maniac's first victims back when Gina and Josh worked as counselors at the Glasswater Lake Camp around Jersey, similar to Jason Voorhees' origin at Camp Crystal Lake. Zelda pointed out never coming across Josh's name in the victims list, but Gina remained adamant as the maniac had not been named or even identified back then, revealing one of her most personal reasons for wanting to catch Maniac Harry. Zelda, too, despite her reservations, couldn't help but accept how much he wanted to catch the maniac, thinking about all the lives that had been lost in his hands. Meanwhile, inside the mayor's first automated train, Maniac Harry reappeared with blood all over him to resume the killings. Gina and Zelda visited author Gardner Birnbaum, who became popular because of his book on Maniac Harry, to find some more information that may not have been known to the public. Gardner revealed his obsession with Maniac Harry, about how someone, despite being so human-like, didn't need to eat or sleep. He went on to reveal Maniac Harry's only known weakness to be fire, which was found out long back when he was almost caught once upon a time, and numerous witnesses heard the maniac scream as he was on fire. But the information ended up being buried to not let the New York police officers come off as incompetent. Upon leaving the meeting, the duo were soon notified about Maniac Harry being spotted inside the train, and they made their way to the mayor's office to talk to him. Despite the mayor's reluctance to stop the train because Maniac Harry was already trapped inside, Gina decided that she wanted to get inside the train to save whatever people were left alive and maybe finish off the maniac for good. Meanwhile, among the several passengers on the train, Gabriella Acosta managed to escape the maniac, and while hiding underneath some seats, she came across 2 children, Lena and Jonah, hiding underneath seats across her. Bonding with the kids, Gabriella took the 2 children under her protection and decided to go as far as possible from the maniac. But with their luck being on the downside, the trio ended up coming face to face with Maniac Harry. Trying their best to dodge the Maniac's attacks, the trio barely managed to escape with Jonah almost falling out of the train car, but was saved on time by Gabriella. As the trio again made their run, Gabriella ended up falling on the ground, tripping over one of the dead bodies. As Jonah and Lena helped her up, Maniac Harry caught up to them, but mysteriously, once the intercom announced that the train was at 81st Street, one of the few Maniac Harry free zones as per Zelda, the Maniac froze while almost about to swing his machete on Gabriella. Gabriella, Lena, and Jonah made a run for their life, taking up the opportunity, while Zelda and Gina finally made it on the train with the help of Zelda's contact, who slowed the train for them. Running through the train, which had reached its final stop, Gabriella, Lena, and Jonah finally came across Zelda and Gina, with Gabriella finally having some hope of survival. But her glimmer of hope ended up lasting for just a few minutes, as Maniac Harry sneaked up behind her and stabbed her through the chest with his machete. Coming face to face with the Maniac after what was years, Gina froze in fear and recalled the first time when she ran away from the Maniac with her then boyfriend, Josh, on August 3rd, 2009. She hid inside a bathroom while Josh faced Maniac Harry alone to lead him away from her, but ended up being killed. The Maniac checked inside the bathroom, but Gina managed to escape from the window already, and since then the nightmare of running away from the Maniac haunted her even years later. Returning to the present, Gina and Zelda started shooting Maniac Harry with their guns, but once that turned out to be useless, the duo had to resort to running with Lena and Jonah. Reaching the final train car, Gina asked Zelda to escape with the kids, while asking for her lighter to execute her final resort. Drinking a small bottle of alcohol, Gina turned on the lighter and spit out the alcohol towards the incoming Maniac Harry, which engulfed him in flames. But despite her brave effort, Maniac Harry made his escape by breaking out of the backside of the train car and ran inside the tunnels while seemingly screaming out his own name. Gina and Zelda's bravery was able to save 2 children from losing their lives, but repercussions for their actions ended up being worse than they could have imagined. The mayor forced Gina to take the blame for keeping Maniac Harry trapped in the train and, in turn, for the death of all the passengers on board. Lena, meanwhile, was separated from her brother Jonah and was made to stay with her grandmother, as she remained haunted by the memory of seeing her mother being killed by Maniac Harry on the train, while believing that he would come after her soon enough. Meanwhile, across town, inside a museum located near 81st Street, 2 strangers visit an often ignored section revealing ancient amulets that once belonged to a tribe of people from Chewy Valley that apparently possessed supernatural powers against evil spirits. Among them, one of the amulets bore marks similar to that of Maniac Harry's mask, possibly being a way of defeating the Maniac once and for all, and a reason why he avoided the area of the museum. Meanwhile, sightings of Maniac Harry remained rare, but on a random night, he resumed his killings by murdering a homeless man. The Maniac is unstoppable. Gina and Zelda continued their hunt for Maniac Harry after being tipped off about a sighting in a liquor store in the Bronx. But despite the owner's insistence, it had turned out to be a copycat using a gun, a weapon that had never been used by the Maniac. Zelda insisted that it was useless to look up leads about Maniac Harry in the Bronx, as he had never visited the area. But unbeknownst to her, Maniac Harry made his move by killing a sergeant and making his way inside a school in the area, killing several school employees. Maniac Harry reached outside a classroom full of students, but the kids believed themselves to be safe from the Maniac because of shatterproof glass, and decided to record the encounter on their phones. But this thin veil of supposed protection was shattered right in front of their eyes when Maniac Harry broke the glass with his machete, stabbing straight into the teacher's head. As the Maniac tried to open the locked door by kicking it, a student named Raphael Bowie, who had been inside the toilet during this whole encounter, was able to gather enough courage to distract the killer from the other students towards himself. Chased and soon cornered by Maniac Harry, Raphael managed to survive by escaping inside a locker, though the Maniac still tried to stab him by striking the door. His efforts were soon thwarted when a teacher named Cesar Reyes threw detergent on his face, only to regret his action immediately, as he got killed by the Maniac. Meanwhile, Gina and Zelda also arrived inside the school, after managing to cross a horde of protesters outside the school, who vehemently opposed them for their failure last time, and also for the numerous deaths. After the previous encounter, Gina arrived, fully prepared with alcohol bottles to make Molotov cocktails, and when she came face to face with Maniac Harry, she gave him a run for his money, as the Maniac was immediately engulfed in flames. Maniac Harry ran from the scene quickly with Gina and Zelda hot on his trail as they realized that he had left through the back door. Outside the door, the duo came across Gabriela Acosta's daughter, who pointed them in the Maniac's direction. Noticing a giant hole in the fence, Gina and Zelda realized that Maniac Harry had already been far gone. But what they were not ready for was the shocking revelation that the Maniac had gone to the Yankee Stadium, where thousands of people had gathered. Entering the stadium, Maniac Harry wasted no time, as his trail left several dead bodies behind. As he entered the stadium, his killing saw no sign of stopping, as he started swinging his machete at anyone he could get a hold of. With several people running out of the stadium, Zelda and Gina made their way inside. Coming face to face with the killer once again, Gina continued throwing Molotov cocktails at Maniac Harry, as memories of her first encounter with the Maniac flashed through her mind. With the Maniac finally weakened and noticing his machete on the ground, Gina decided to end the reign of Maniac Harry once and for all by picking the machete and smashing it through his head. With the Maniac finally dead, Gina left the city with the sole mission of her life now finished, which was avenging Josh, while Zelda decided to agree to sell her story to author Gardner Birnbaum. Finally stopped the fate of Maniac Harry. Following the Yankee Stadium massacre, all the bodies including Maniac Harry's were taken to the morgue. Despite plenty of interest in the Maniac's body, it had turned out to be as human as one couldn't have imagined. Dr. Peter Lee, who was conducting the postmortems, soon moved to the body of the 100th victim, when suddenly a female corpse rose out of her body bag, taking Maniac Harry's machete. The girl stabbed Dr. Peter in the head with it, as she followed it by putting on the mask of Maniac Harry as well. Getting out of the morgue, the new killer made her way to Central Park, where several homeless citizens had created a camp after losing their jobs, and continued the same old massacre there, leaving behind only a sole survivor named Riley Katz, who hid from the new killer, by news anchor Mr. Haggerty, who also hailed her as a protector of citizens for killing homeless people, calling them the slime of the city, who were after the money of hardworking citizens. Notified about Maniac Mary, Zelda quickly visited the mayor to find a way to get Gina back to help fight the new killer. Gina agreed to return to the task force to hunt Maniac Mary, but stopped at Lena's grandmother's house to visit her. With Lena's knowledge about Maniac Harry's frozen state around 81st Street and Googling his connection with the Museum of Natural History, Gina and Zelda found out about the amulet located there. Upon visiting, the duo found out that the object was called the Tamgali Amulet, which, back in the 11th century, protected people from a fearful spirit that resembled a dead body and was responsible for killing off people in areas where the population grew in numbers. Upon Zelda's screaming, the historian revealed that he had been asked to keep quiet about author Gardner Birnbaum. Maniac Mary, meanwhile, continued with her killings by finding people in the alleyways and also by killing more homeless people. With the amulet's secret now revealed, it might be the only way to save the city of New York from the murderous spirit that knew no bounds. Marvelous verdict. Maniac of New York is an intriguing ongoing comic series that not only updates the 80s setting of Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, to a modern one, but also gives us a convincing killer that has a clear tie with supernatural forces that makes him unstoppable. With two main female protagonists to follow, the slasher stereotype of dispensable female protagonists, who are only there to be killed or be the final girl, is completely tossed out of the window. Alongside that, the Maniac of New York series is also building up to a proper mythology to explain the killings as not just something horrific, but also a way of supernatural population control. For any Jason Voorhees or slasher fans out there, Maniac of New York and the story of Maniac Harry should be a must-read. With Maniac Harry's story seemingly over and a new Maniac taking over New York, it remains to be seen which direction the plot moves on to next. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.